Greetings, friends. Prepare for another thrilling journey as we delve into Reddit's most bizarre tales. We're plunging deep into the quirkiest corners of the web. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Remember to hit subscribe and like. Let's begin. A few months ago, my longtime friend Steve, N27, whom I studied with, invited me, N27, and my wife Jessica, 24, to his wedding with Nicole, F25. Steve comes from a very wealthy family, so much so that during our college days, he could afford to treat our entire group of friends to dinners or football games using just his pocket money. He'd often hosted lively parties filled with plenty of drinks and lots of guests. After graduation, Steve joined the family business, met Nicole, and decided to settle down. Nicole also comes from a prosperous family. Steve mentioned that the wedding would be quite grand and formal, with around 200 guests, including relatives, business partners, VIP clients, and even some officials. It was clear this would be a formal affair, and neither Steve nor Nicole could change that due to the expectations of their families and businesses. Given this, Steve proposed that we plan a separate celebration just for close friends, where we could enjoy ourselves as we did in our younger days. He arranged to rent an entire hotel on a beach in a tropical country for 2 days, covering everyone's flight costs. All of the couple's close friends were invited, along with their spouses or partners, but without children. We would fly out on Friday and return on Sunday, making it easy for everyone to manage their schedules. We set off on Friday evening and arrived at the resort on Saturday morning. The newlyweds greeted us at the airport and organized a series of trips to beautiful locations and beaches, where we were treated to drinks, snacks, and a photographer to capture the moments. There was even a wardrobe of costumes for the photo shoots and a team of assistants. While I participated in a few costume changes, I quickly grew tired of it in the heat, so I mostly stayed near the drinks table, as did many of the men. The women, however, were thrilled with the photo sessions but didn't forget about the drinks either. By the evening, we were all quite tipsy when we returned to the hotel, where a dinner and show were arranged at the restaurant. The hotel manager handed out room keys to each of us, and the porters took care of the luggage. Without checking our rooms, we continued drinking and enjoying ourselves at the restaurant. After a while, my wife, feeling the effects of the alcohol and fatigue from the long flight, went to the room to sleep, as did many of the other women. Most of the men, including myself, stayed with the groom for another hour or two, continuing the festivities. Late at night, I finally made my way to my room, careful not to wake my wife, using my phone's light to guide me. I undressed and climbed into bed. In the middle of the night, still half asleep and under the influence, I woke up feeling thirsty, drank some water, and then feeling affectionate. I hugged who I thought was my wife and we became intimate. We then fell back asleep. In the morning, I awoke to noise in the hallway and realized that my wife wasn't beside me. To my shock, the person next to me was actually a married friend of the bride, and she looked just as horrified as I was. I quickly dressed and rushed out of the room, only to find chaos in the hallway. People were shouting, accusing each other of infidelity, and some were even on the verge of fighting. Many of the men had mistakenly gone into the wrong rooms and slept with someone else's partner, leading to several awkward and distressing situations. It turned out that almost all the couples had ended up with keys to different rooms, likely due to a mix-up by the hotel manager. Later, I discovered that there had even been fights during the night when one man entered a room where a couple was sleeping, thinking it was his wife with someone else. Another guest had even passed out on the lawn in front of the restaurant. Eventually, I found my wife, and although she denied it, insisting she was too drunk and didn't remember anything, I couldn't shake the feeling that she had been with someone else. The hotel receptionist was visibly distressed, insisting she had no idea how things got so out of control. As an apology, the hotel offered us free drinks, upgraded rooms, and various perks, but none of it mattered. Our return flight was scheduled for Sunday evening, and to make matters worse, the porter had also mixed up everyone's luggage, leaving us scrambling through different rooms to find our belongings. It was pure chaos, a scene straight out of Sodom and Gomorrah. I've never experienced such intense embarrassment. The few fortunate ones who had fallen asleep on the lawn or alongside their spouses managed to find some humor in the situation. The bride was mortified while the groom, trying to contain his laughter, reassured everyone. After all, why should he be concerned? He and his fiancée had checked into their deluxe suite a day early, avoiding the mix-up altogether. No one knew what to do next. A few women, still reeling from the shock, suggested that since they were intoxicated, what happened could be considered assault, and they contemplated contacting the police. This threw Nicole and Steve into a state of panic, knowing that publicizing such an incident back home could severely damage their reputations and businesses. Steve pointed out that if the police got involved, none of us would be flying home that day, leaving us stranded on this beach for who knows how long. Moreover, accusing another's husband could backfire, with counter-accusations flying. If word got out, the fallout would be disastrous for all of us. Nicole, acknowledging their responsibility as the party organizers, offered to cover all expenses and compensate for the emotional distress, on the condition that we all agreed to keep this incident a secret. After some thought, and once the initial panic subsided, everyone reluctantly agreed. My wife and I returned home, and since then we've barely spoken. I'm deeply hurt that she ended up sleeping with another man, while she's upset with me for doing the same. I admitted to my mistake, but my wife adamantly denies having had sex with that guy. Despite her denial, I'm convinced they did, and the betrayal gnaws at me. I feel like I'll never be able to trust her again. One night, I even woke up from a nightmare, believing another woman was lying beside me. We're not into swinging or anything like that, and this whole situation has left us in a state of severe discomfort. I suggested we try couples therapy, with the bill going to Steve and Nicole, but my wife isn't ready for that yet. What should we do?